Introducing a new macro for CorelDraw from Firebelly Scripts.
Do you routinely need to calculate the area or perimeter of objects in your CorelDraw file? This macro instantly calculates the actual area and perimeter of your selected objects, but it doesn't stop there. It also calculates the bounding box extents, while providing all relevant numbers in both imperial and metric units. If you are documenting sizes for municipal sign permit applications, or perhaps estimating material usage and waste, or even calculating CNC router time, then this helpful tool is going to eliminate a big pain point in the process.
Hi there, I'm Bob. As a professional sign designer and CorelDraw user for over 30 years, I frequently need to calculate the area of signage for various reasons. If it's a rectangle, maybe that's not too hard to figure out, but I often need to know the true area of the design elements along with the area of the outer graphic extents. This macro saves so much time and prevents potential headaches because it does all of that in one click, in one application, while eliminating the chances of making a potentially costly mistake anywhere along any of those steps. My previous process to get accurate measurements of these types involves scaling and exporting my design into a dedicated CAD program, going through a cumbersome multi-stage operation of selecting all of the outermost objects and then subtracting the inner void objects from the area total, then doing some additional math on the output to get the base units into more useful larger units, and then finally using another program, the calculator, to convert those numbers so I would have both imperial and metric versions. I've sped up that process here, and even with practicing all of the steps to go as fast as I could and having all of the programs already open, it still took nearly 3 minutes to come up with the answers. Instead, you can save yourself from all of that math with a single click or even an assigned hotkey shortcut. A dialog box will appear with your measurements and prompts you on whether you'd like the report inserted in the drawing or simply copied to your computer's clipboard memory. It doesn't just crunch numbers either, it shows its work. It draws a bold red bounding box to show the farthest extents of your selection and drops in bold green lines on the selected objects so you can visually verify exactly which paths were used for the calculations. Also of note, the macro is scale aware and works correctly no matter which active drawing scale you are in. The generated report documents the active scale used for the operation. To keep your drawing organized, the macro places these new visuals in the inserted report onto a dedicated topmost layer called Measurement Report. The best part? It automatically leaves your original working layer active so you can keep right on working. You can simply grab or make note of the 1 or 2 calculations that you likely only need, and then delete the report layer in the object docker when you're done, or perhaps hide the new layer and set it to non-printing if you want to keep the report saved in your file. Under the hood, the script is incredibly robust. It is made to work on single objects, multiple objects, compound paths, and groups of objects. It automatically ungroups, combines, evaluates, and corrects subpath directions, and safely welds overlapping objects. It works flawlessly on live text, live shapes, transparencies, and even objects that still have live effects, like drop shadows and envelopes. Just remember, it measures the underlying vector paths only. It does not include any penline thicknesses. If your stroke thickness is part of the footprint you require as part of the calculations, you would need to use the Convert Outlines to Object command or the Contour tool on the objects before running the tool. Imperial measurements are set to round to the nearest 1/16th of an inch, while metric measurements round to the nearest whole millimeter. The results are provided in both their base units, inches and millimeters, as well as in the typically more useful notations for large-scale dimensioning, feet and meters. Imperial measurements are provided in both decimal form and architectural notations. There are actually 3 macros included in your purchase. One with both metric and imperial measurements, and also 2 simplified versions that only display the measurements in one of the measurement systems or the other. These additional bonus versions can greatly simplify the visual complexity of the report if you never actually need to see the other measurement system. Okay, installing the macro. The first thing we need to do is open Windows File Explorer and navigate to where you downloaded the zip file, which is normally in your downloads folder. If you right-click on the zip file, and click on Extract All, and then follow this wizard. Click on Extract. A new folder will open up with the extracted files. These 3 GMS files are the macros themselves. There's 3 versions. The full one gives all of the measurements in both Imperial and Metric, and these 2 will give the measurements only in one system. So it's a matter of preference. These bottom 2 are visually less cluttered. So if you don't need to use the other version, you might want to use these instead. This is a custom icon file, which is just a kind of a nicety. It's not essential. And then this folder contains the documentation for installation and use, and also the end user license agreement, which you should review before installing. So once we have the extracted files ready, I'm going to open a second Windows. Well, I already have one. Second Windows File Explorer window, and this red text here, %appdata, %\corel with capital C, \, this will take us most of the way to a file path where we need to install the macro. So in your address bar on your second window, if you input that text, in a second, it will bring me to a folder containing basically Corel settings. You can see I've got a number of CorelDraw versions and Corel Painter and other programs as well. So I'm going to install it into the latest version of CorelDraw. So if we double click on that and then open the Draw folder, double click on Draw, and then finally GMS, double click on that. So that's the complete file path. C users, this will be your username. AppData, roaming, CorelDraw Graphics Suite 2026, Draw, GMS. So if we take, if we select all the files from the extracted folder, right click, hit copy, and then in this GMS folder, right click and hit paste, the files will be where they need to be. So now we need to just close CorelDraw down and restart. There are 2 main ways to trigger or run the macro. One is via a button that we can place on a toolbar on the user interface of CorelDraw, where we can just click it. Or the other way is via a shortcut key, or you can do both. So if we go to the Tools menu and then go to Options and then Customization, a dialog box will appear, and there's a list along the left side, and we click Commands, and then there's a drop-down list that if you click it, you can select macros, and then a list of the macros that you have available will appear. Some of these are default macros that are installed with CorelDraw, but here are the ones that we're interested in. So I'm going to install this full macro, and along here on the General tab, you can choose to select a custom icon if you want. You don't have to do this step if you're happy with this icon, but I've included a custom one, and I'll go to that very same path and navigate to where the macro lives, and there we go with the custom icon, and then I hit open. All right, so now that's registered to our macro there. And then also, if you click on shortcut keys, you can click in this field, new shortcut key. And if you type in the shortcut you want, say you want to Control-Alt-A, you can click on Assign. And now it shows up as, here's the current shortcut key. If there's a conflict, it'll show you here. It's best just to avoid the conflicts and choose a different shortcut key if that's the case. So anyway, you've got the macro, the custom icon, and a shortcut key set up. Now all you have to do is drag. You click and drag the macro, and you can release it into an empty area, or you could release it on an existing toolbar. I would suggest you put it on an empty area for now. So it creates its own little toolbar and its own little icon there. So I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to drag these other two as well. I'm not going to bother with the custom icon, but I'm just going to drag these out so that I have all three. And then the most important part is hitting OK, because if you hit cancel there, this toolbar will just disappear and those changes won't take effect. So you can dock this toolbar along the side, or on this toolbar if you want. I tend to like to just put it up at the top somewhere. But now the macros are ready to go. All you have to do is select something, and you can launch your toolbar either by clicking the button or Control-Alt-A. Either one will launch the macro.